Hey guys, and welcome to episode 9 of the Reborn Football Podcast. I'm Tans and I'm here with,
Fuego.
and as usual, we're going to take it away with today's verse of the episode. So I'm going to let Fuego do the honors.
Yeah, so today's verse of the episode is Romans 5, verses 3 and 4. And it says, "And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope."
So that was that's King James version,
That
right?
is King James Version,
Right.
yeah.
So I'll just take that away in the English Standard Version for anyone who might not be familiar with KJV. So that is not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. Now, this is this type of verse is a very like it goes against human nature, and in a very kind of explicit way, because as humans we don't want to, when you see the words enjoy suffering, that sounds like an oxymoron, like a paradox. Like, why would you enjoy suffering? Like, why would you, suffering's not a good thing. But you know my interpretation of this verse is, first two things. One, having that faith in God that, even if you're going through suffering now, even if you're going through a difficult time now, that, He will bring you through it. Or even if he, or number two, point number two, even if he doesn't bring you through it, or that, whatever you have to go through for the moment, stands you in good stead for maybe experiences that you have to experience later in life, or maybe, even help or a lesson that you might be able to give to another
Very,
person,
very
you know?
true.
So it's one of those things that it's hard to really, you know, it's hard to have that sense of perspective, that sense of godly perspective, when we're going through difficult times. But I mean, even like this, I think the second part of the passage is a bit more, understanding. Like, suffering does produce endurance. That's normal. Like, for example, if you're training to be a runner, it's hard to do the long distance running, but that produces endurance. And when you have more endurance, that does produce character. And when you have that character, it teaches you to, be able to have hope in all situations. It's even like what's his name? That it's slightly off the Bible, but that David Goggins. Is
Yes,
that
yes,
David
that's the name.
Goggins?
That's the name.
There was he was doing this story about, they were doing like this long run in the Navy, and they were getting towards what was supposed to be the end of the run, but then the people, like the officers that were leading the run, just decided to keep going. And then he seen that the people around him lost hope. Like, they, their heads went down. They were so sad. But because he built this sense of endurance, this sense of character, his hope never wavered. His character never wavered. And he was able to keep on running. So bringing it back towards the Bible, in our in conclusion, to my point, you just have to, have that level of faith that God can bring you through every situation, and that every situation, and as long as it aligns with His will, then it's for your own good.
Yeah. One point that I will touch on that you kind of mentioned was the experience, but the experience to kind of, have a story to tell for other people. So it just brings my mind to a lot of, I know a lot of people kind of our age or close to us would have wanted to do medicine. I think that's a Nigerian thing, maybe not just people our age. And there are people who don't make it. There are people who do make it straight away. There are people who go through a whole life journey where they go through the highs, the lows, and all of that. And there is someone that I know I'm good enough friends with that went through a pretty tough medical journey. She's now, I think she's halfway through her course, post grad med, right? But she said,
It's your one on TikTok, right?
"Is
Okay,
your one on
okay,
TikTok?"
okay,
I just don't.
okay.
I don't
I don't
want
want
to
to
say a
mention
name
her. Yeah, I don't want to mention her.
for reasons, but
Yeah.
you know, she said things like, going through what I've gone through could be an encouragement to someone. That you don't go through that, you don't have the story to tell. You're not in a position to kind of encourage those who need it. And as the Bible says, going through those things strengthens us, makes us stronger, gives us that hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel. That yes, you may be going through this now. It may be tough, it may be painful, but God will see you through. Another thing that it brought back to my mind was yesterday actually in church. Our pastor was preaching on. He's preaching on deeper knowledge of Christ this month, and one of the things that he said is that he doesn't think like basically. I can't remember exactly what verse it was, but the particular thing that stood out was to go through the same struggles, the same problems, the same kind of tribulation that Jesus did. And he basically asked the church that how many of you would actually, go down on your knees and pray to God that God, please give me the tribulations that Jesus had. That it's not a human thing. It doesn't come to us naturally to want to go through trials and tribulations. But obviously at times they do happen. And because obviously we are Christ-like, we're made in the image of God, and being Christians, we are like Christ. We are to be like Christ. Jesus went through stuff. We are also going to have to go through stuff whether we like it or not. But because we have Jesus, there is always hope. I think that's the anchor, the very last part of that verse, which is, it brings hope at the end of the day.
And just to finish off with another verse that I think kind of just, wraps up Fuego's point perfectly, but Romans 8:18, which says, "For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us." So I think we'll, end on that note, and I think we'll proceed into the football part of the episode. So obviously, we have to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, me and Fuego are both Nigerians, so it was unfortunately AFCON Final heartbreak for us yesterday at the time of recording. So this is the 12th. Final was on Sunday the 11th. And yeah, unfortunately it was heartbreak for us yesterday. I think a bit of perspective, especially, 24 hours after, not really feeling the, high emotions of it anymore. But it is important to point out that we did far better than we actually all expected, at this tournament. No one really expected us to get to the final. We were in really bad form before the tournament, So first of all, I'm really proud of the players for getting that far. But I can't lie, we kind of went outside.
Yeah, no, I think yesterday, obviously, we were at one of the boys' houses to watch it. And whenever we scored that first goal, I think they were kind of, Nigeria's name was up in lights at that point. They kind of teased us. We got excited. And then, obviously, unfortunately, 2 goals conceded. And Nigeria didn't concede too many goals in this competition in particular. So it was like, the way the match went was kind of like, yeah, we've got this far, but let's try and just keep things together. So they almost didn't want to be too offensive in case of getting hit on the counter or whatever. Like, I don't think I've seen Nigeria play a low block in this tournament.
We have in parts, but I haven't seen us get pinned back. We actually really got pinned back yesterday. I kind of feel like we ran out of gas.
Is it ran out of gas or too cautious? Because I feel like it was too cautious.
I think it's a bit of both, Sly, because we haven't been the most attacking. We've kind of kept a decent balance. We've been cautious at times and more attacking at times throughout this tournament. But it really felt like they left Osimhen out on his own out there. Like they actually left them out to dry. Like even the wingers, like sometimes we would have some opportunities at 1-1. We had some, some nice kind of like opportunities. Maybe if you play the right pass, make the right run, but bro,
the options weren't there.
No options weren't there. It was disappointing. We conceded 2 goals when we conceded 2 goals previously in the entire tournament. Even a couple players like Ola Aina's, like I would have said maybe top 4, top 5 in terms of player of the tournament. And, he had a really poor game. Unfortunately, as a defender, that happens. Any winger can can get the better of you on the day. It's unfortunate that happened in the final, but yeah, I mean, on a more positive note, Trista Kong, player of the tournament. I think
Well
that's
deserved.
I think
Well
that's very
deserved.
well deserved. Very well deserved. Led the team fantastically. And yeah, I think overall the players can be proud, but I really wish we would have won it, man.
Yeah, no, I think I was saying to a lot of the boys that look, at the end of the day, I support City, so it's not really as painful for me. And then obviously I was saying just before this episode that I was at home for most of the day. I didn't have to face all the non-Nigerian African people at uni, because if anyone in my ACS is listening to this, yeah, don't worry. That's all I'll say. But the whole thing of everybody, like the whole of Africa versus Nigeria and all of that stuff, the narrative was if Nigeria win, everybody is sad. If Nigeria lose, it's not like the Ivorians are happy, it's like the whole of Africa are happy. Which
I was saying that yesterday, man. Like I don't think it was meant to be. Like because I went back to look at the highlights of just our goal today, and I actually didn't clock because we were like obviously screaming like our heads off when we scored, but bro, the stadium was silent. Like, bro, like the stadium was silent when we scored. Like I know it was home advantage or anything, but like were there any Nigerian fans in that crowd?
see the thing
Like,
is, I don't know, because if it was 70-30 split in terms of like, it's not like 70-30 or 70 are like Ivorians and others, and then 30 Nigerians. Like it's maybe 30 Nigerians, but majority of that 70% were Ivorians. So like it kind of does make sense, except they were like maybe in the corner where the Nigerian fans were. But the home advantage thing is a lot bigger than people kind of make it out to be for last night.
especially because of the way they got to the final as well. Because even bringing it back to the Bible verse, the suffering that they went through initially, it produced character and it produced hope for the fans as well.
So annoying that the Bible is actually
Bro, like literally, bro, they've used so many things that they just use Nigeria for our downfall. Like, bro, I even seen a TikTok today talking about the reason why Nigeria fans lost, and one verse, I can't remember, one verse about being humble.
Yeah, no, I saw it. I saw it as well,
I said
man.
damn. I said damn. I said peak. Oh man, peak, but I mean, Nigerians, man. And I would like the greatest video to come out this AFCON was that my man doing the water dance after we beat South Africa.
Yeah, no, I feel like there are so many things that you could say about that video. I don't even know if we should start going into it because there are so many things you could say about that video. So questionable. But one last thing I would say on the Ivory Coast is that it's not a small achievement. Obviously, we see a lot of dragging Nigerians on socials now because Nigerians were loud in everybody's faces and all that stuff. But we actually do need to give it to the Ivorians. It lost 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the group stage.
Yeah, they were supposed to be dead and buried. They only got through by way of third place.
Barely made it out. Sacked their coach halfway through. He's an interim manager who has won the AFCON for them, which is... It's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
I don't think he'd ever managed a game in his life.
That's
that's crazy. We actually got used for a fairy tale. I'm kind of annoyed, man. But I mean, even back on more structural issues, a problem that did persist even though we were winning games was the fact that we had no midfield. It was really jarring, especially I would like even. If you kind of look at the tournament from like a more a less Nigeria centric view, I can't lie, the way we lost yesterday was coming. Even South Africa gave us a real scare. Like I think on the balance of the actual 120 minutes, I say South Africa deserved to win. So like it was coming. Like the midfield, just in terms of like working hard, yeah, they were there, but like
but controlling.
In more games than not, we got completely overrun in the midfield.
And that's the issue, especially in a competition like AFCON, where it's completely different football to European football, where you could see, I don't know, you could see Luton play against City, play a low block. City oppress them, and then Luton could just get maybe 3 minutes of play where they're in control. But if they don't have the midfield to do it, the ball is just going to go straight back to City and start again. So in a competition like AFCON, where we're playing in a completely different environment, completely different tactics and all of that stuff, it's important that your midfield is the midfield that's dominating the match. If it's not, then you're just going to need to have luck on your side and take your chances to be able to win a match.
See, that's the thing. You know, this tournament, I can't even really, like, it's weird because at the start of the tournament, we were creating a lot of chances but not taking them away. Then as the tournament progressed, we weren't really creating as many chances. But then some games we ran the midfield, like the Angola game. I remember Iwobi was really good that game. And then other games, our midfield wasn't present. Like, it was just really inconsistent overall. But like the thing that, you know, a lot of us was talking about is that, like, there just wasn't that. There's not that person in the midfield that you could give the ball to on a consistent basis and say, just make something happen. You know, just help us to keep the ball for 3 minutes. You know, like Ivory Coast, like I'm not even gonna bring up what the XG was yesterday. Like, we very much deserve to lose. You know, we could barely get hold of the ball, could barely string 5 passes together. Left Osimhen absolutely isolated out there. Like, tactically, I wouldn't even say outclassed because Ivory Coast didn't do anything special.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, it's not like they were amazing. We were just unfortunately that bad on the day. You know.
Yeah. Sure.
It's unfortunate, you know. So it wasn't to be, but you know, hopefully the next AFCON will be more luck for Nigeria. So, moving on from that heartbreak, we're just gonna touch on what is looking like it's gonna be a tantalizing title race between Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. All 3 teams won at the weekend, pretty comfortably as well. I think City had a little bit of, like, you know, it took them like I think an hour or something to score, but
yeah, City was 2-0.
2-0
Haaland back, but to be fair, yeah, they were slow to start. I didn't get to catch most of the match, but I did watch a few of the highlights. Look, it's City just doing City things. At the end of the day, they may not look like they're doing great or whatever, but they get the job done.
6 wins in a row now for you in the Premier League. Is that right?
I think it is, but at least it just goes to show that they're kind of getting back into the swing of things. Haaland getting back up to speed because I think he played, was it 10 or 15 minutes in his last Premier League game, and he had a wild miss kick that looked kind of comical. Now City were, I think, 3-0 up at that point, so it didn't really matter. But it's nice to see him back, scoring goals, doing what he does best, and hopefully we'll have more of the same going into the tail end of the season. As for the other 2 matches, though, I think I was very impressed by Arsenal's showing at West Ham, especially because it was away, especially because Declan Rice's first trip back to the London Stadium, and Arsenal just showed out. I can't really complain about anything that they did. Yeah, they had a lot of chances. They took a lot of their chances. Some very good goals as well. So I don't know. What did you think of that match?
Honestly, I had a personal gripe with West Ham this entire season because I felt they got really lucky. We played them in the League Cup, but look, you know, League Cup, I didn't lose sleep over it. But that Premier League game at the Emirates, I couldn't believe what happened in that game for like a week. Like, I think we had 30 shots and we scored no goals. We had 30 shots. We had like 2.5 or something XG. I mean, West Ham had like 1 point something XG, but they had a penalty which they missed. So, you know, a penalty adds like 0.8 XG, which is, if you're familiar with XG, like, that's a whole lot. That's essentially saying, you know, it's an 80% chance shot of scoring. You know, so like, I just felt like we owed them a beating. Like, I felt like we should win comfortably if we just do everything right. Now, 6-0 away from home, I was not expecting that. You know, I think that's our biggest away win in Premier League history. You know, so overall, everyone was just, I think from a more, Arsenal specific standpoint, everybody's looking kind of fresher. We're kind of getting really like stagnant before the winter break, but I think the winter break seems to have done them a world of good. I mean, 4 wins in a row since we came back, so we seem to be hitting our stride as well. City hitting their stride. I mean, even though we beat Liverpool like a week ago, Liverpool have won 4 out of their last 5 games, so it's not like they're in a slump or anything like that. So yeah, I think the title race is really shaping up quite nicely. Everyone has got play. Wait, see, you guys have got all your players back now, all your big hitters.
I don't think there's anybody injured anymore.
Yeah, all your
Stones is back, KDB's back, Haaland's back. Yeah,
all your big hitters are back. Liverpool have Salah to come back. Trent to come back. Trent, not anything long term, but like, they're injured. So as Arsenal, we have Timber to come back. That's probably the main thing. Timber to come back. Yeah. So I think this title race could go right down to the wire. I think a lot will hinge on the 2 head-to-heads which are still left, because we have to play you, and you have to play Liverpool.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you are going to Anfield is a big swing, because I feel like if roles were reversed, if this game was at home, I feel like I'd be very confident in City winning that game. But you just don't have the best record at Anfield.
But see, Anfield is a tough place to play for anyone,
bro. Honestly, man, I when we got our point, man, I was happy.
Yeah, no, you will take a point at Anfield, but see, there's the 12th man is actually very, very, very serious.
So real. It's so real.
I don't know. I don't know how to actually describe it myself in words, but obviously watching the matches at Anfield over the years, the losses, the draws, it's like, you can't really, even if Liverpool are in bad form, you go to Anfield, you don't know what to expect.
Bro, that's the thing. Even because obviously, in terms of like my time watching football, Liverpool haven't always been good. Even when they were bad, like you know what for me personally, what the worst situation is to be in at Anfield. Yeah, specifically when they're chasing a late equalizer. I think I've experienced that as an Arsenal fan 3 times. And they got that late equalizer every single time. Like it's like they just keep banging and banging and banging and banging and banging on the door, and eventually like the door opens. Like,
sure, we'll see. It's going to be interesting, but my opinion is it's very rare that we will have a 3-horse race right to the very end.
To the very end.
One of the 3. And I'm not even going to say that it's one particular team or it's between 2 particular teams. One of the 3 is going to drop off significantly, and the other 2 are just going to be left in the clear fighting for it.
I don't know about significantly. Like, well, I feel like
significantly might be 3 or 4 points at the end of the day.
To be fair, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but like, yeah, I just want to add to that. Like, I feel like it really could be one of those ones where like the 3rd team drops out like the second last week of the season,
and it's like
3 or 4 points.
That's the thing.
We're both looking at the table, kind of like the general stats. Like Liverpool, City, and Arsenal are streets ahead of the chasing pack.
Everybody else,
absolutely streets ahead. Now in terms of points, we're not like a million miles away. But when you really look at the stats, like it is clear that these are the 3 best teams in the league, and I can't lie, we're in for a treat, trying to find out who's going to come out on top between the 3. Klopp last season as well, that adds an extra dynamic to it.
That would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see I would say probably the next 18 months. I want to see to the end of next season what kind of happens to Liverpool over their first season without Klopp. It'd be interesting to see who they get.
They're going to try to get Xabi Alonso.
Yeah.
They're already running the propaganda on Monday Night Football tonight. They were analyzing Xabi Alonso and Leverkusen.
In general,
for the Chelsea game. Like,
oh,
they were analyzing Bundesliga. They've never done that before. So they're already running the agenda, like for and I'm pretty sure it was Carragher doing it, like so.
Of course he's gonna do it.
But yeah, I think Premier League is shaping up quite nicely. A wonderful, just back on AFCON, that was an absolutely wonderful tournament.
Oh,
Like
definitely.
one of the best tournaments I've ever watched in my life. So as an African myself, like I hope that really did a lot for like um the reputation of African football. And one last point on that actually, the refereeing in AFCON was so good. Like it was amazing. Like overall, especially how they dealt with VAR. How they dealt with VAR was just like streets ahead of what the Premier League does. Because in the Premier League, there's a lot of referees that try to do in Nigeria we call it oversabi. They try to do like they know. They try to they try to outsmart the rules. Try to like make up their own rules on the spot. The AFCON referees, they're just like if they hear any single thing, straight to the monitor. Cause so they can see it. No making decisions off the top of their head. So that's why I really appreciate it. Because every single big decision in this AFCON, they got it absolutely spot on, like to the letter correct. But in the Premier League, there's always this, there's always that, like always, too much subjectivity in the Premier League because I think they allow the refs too much power in the Premier League.
But see, I think the issue in the Prem is that when the ref is advised to go to the monitor, he doesn't have to. If he wants to stick with his on field decision, he can. But the issue is when you now see him go to the monitor, and then he's looking at it, and you're like, there is absolutely no way the referee is not going to give this if he goes to the monitor. He goes to the monitor, and they're like, nah.
It's the fact that you see, well, the main thing I noticed is that there was a lot more of going to the monitor in the AFCON. Like any sort of like decision that was just not, if it wasn't like just offside, they were going to the monitor. But in the Premier League, it's like it's like they're in between. It's like they want the VAR to do its job, but then it's
They're
like
not letting it do
it's
its
like
job.
it's like they feel like that's taken away from the referees or something, when that's actually all that's doing is helping them.
It's supposed to help.
But yeah, I think that's just kind of like the last main point on AFCON. Like it was really a top quality tournament, and I hope that AFCON can push on forward and continue to be better for the continent.
Yeah. I think probably one last thing that we'll touch on before we wrap up the episode is just looking ahead to, obviously this week, next week is the first legs of the Champions League round of 16. I think we're looking at odds there for different teams to win the Champions League. There's a lot, like it's a bit, I don't know, in my opinion, it's going to, first leg of Champions League round of 16 will tell us a lot about who's there, who's not. Because I do expect upsets. I won't even lie to you. I do expect upsets. Like there is going to be one of the favorites are going to lose heavily in this round of 16. But it's going to be interesting to see because
I can't lie though. If you look at that draw, yeah, if it goes, let me see. If this Champions League round of 16, right? If it goes ahead to what I'm pretty sure the UEFA have something in mind, because City, Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Arsenal, and Barcelona are all playing separate games. So like if this goes,
they're looking for something.
If this goes according to plan, the quarterfinals could be insane. But that obviously asks for a lot. And like you said, 8 matches, very, very likely that someone's gonna get sent packing.
But we'll see. I think it's definitely going to be one to just keep an eye on because things will happen. I don't know anything. I'm not a witch. I'm just saying that I think things will happen.
Hope you're not a witch, man. That'd be really concerning.
Okay, let's not dwell on that. This is a Christian podcast.
Yeah,
we're both born again Christians.
All right,
Believe in the one true God.
Amen.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this episode. This was actually a really enjoyable episode. Discussing AFCON. We've only talked about AFCON once in depth over the past month. We scheduled our time around to just wait till AFCON finished to talk about it properly. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for watching. And if you stay to the end, a special thank you. All our social medias are available in our link tree, our YouTube, our Instagram, our the Reborn Football Reborn Football Podcast. There is no the. Yeah, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I'll let Fuego take us out.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. As Tan said, you can find the podcast in the link tree. You can find the links in the description or the bio of whatever platform you're on right now. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and all the other ones. So thank you so much, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
God bless.